This is a Geek Leader podcast, and I'm your host, John Rauda. This show is all about helping us grow as leaders, become better technologists, and improve our lives both at work and at home. I hope you enjoy the show and learn a lot. Hello, world, and welcome to a Geek Leader podcast. I'm your host, John Rauda. Today's sponsor is A2 Hosting. I've been using A2 Hosting solid state hosting solutions for our website at geekleader.com for many years now, and absolutely love their support, their service, and all the features that you get. You get access to cPanel. You get all of the things that you can imagine for a great WordPress experience, including their A2 optimized WordPress, which does extra security checks, extra lockdown. You can lock down your editor file so you can't edit anything inside there. You get alerts whenever there are file changes that are done. You can also do automatic updates, backups, and more with A2 Hosting. So highly recommend it. Go to geekleader.com/A2 to get more information and to sign up for their solid state turbocharged speed hosting today. Again, that's geekleader.com/A2. All right, Geek Leaders. Today I'm honored to have Christopher Greco on the show. He is the president and CEO of Storewise, which is a technology company that builds automation software for food retailers. He's also the author of a book called 8 Steps to Overcoming Everyday Adversity. And we're going to talk a lot about this. And also, one thing I wanted to toss in there is that he's completed 4 triathlons, including a half Ironman, which is pretty awesome. Very honored to talk to you today.
Good to be with you, John.
Yeah, I've done a marathon and I've done a couple of sprint triathlons, but that's about as far as I've gone. I haven't ventured into the
the training. Yeah, the training just is really it's super time consuming. I mean, it'd be hard for me to repeat that, today, but we'll see. I mean, I think the oldest Ironman triathlon finisher, I think, is a gentleman in his mid 80s.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine.
Or early 80s, something like that. Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, if you don't mind, just tell the audience a little bit about how you got to where you are today in your career and what, and how Storewise came about.
Yeah, I've just been fascinated with technology ever since, I went to business school. So I started my career with, in corporate with AT&T and then Sprint. And when I was rising up, through the ranks at both those companies, but there's an opportunity where I met the chief marketing officer at Sprint, and he promoted me and relocated me from South Florida to their headquarters in Overland Park, Kansas. And there's a whole side story there because I was newly married and it was, both of us, but I was glad, my wife agreed to make the move because they're Miami and Overland, Kansas are just very complete opposites. But it was a good experience. I've been here, ever since. And I think what got me into early stage life was simply taking a risk. And that risk was I was at Sprint and there was an app that allowed parents to locate their kids' phones. And I was a product manager client on the phone. It worked through AGPS. And I didn't see that it was like really growing. And I just found that odd. So I put a business plan together and I just decided to take it, right to the CEO. Cause I knew he had kids and I demonstrated it from him and he kind of got behind it. And we basically took that product. It was called Sprint Family Locator from, 10 or 20 paying subscribers per day to almost 1,000. And the CEO of that company, was Location Labs out in Silicon Valley. And he kind of liked my energy and took an interest in me, and he actually recruited me out of Sprint, and we scaled Location Labs to a $220 million exit. And I was a VP of customer success and there, and from there we got acquired again by Avast, and then I went to Symantec, and then I did a short stint in a property retail tech startup as a CMO and was recruited from there into CEO here at Storewise. So, about this is my third early stage company. One I had success, the other one not so much. And we're growing. Our revenues are up 450% since I came into the company. It's not because of me; it's because I've been able to recruit just a fantastic leadership team.
So, tell me a little bit about how, over the past couple of years, it's been very difficult to recruit good people, especially from a tech company. When you look at, all this, all that has happened with the Great Resignation and COVID and who knows whatever else. How have you been able to go out and find, good talent?
Culture. The people really see, when you really dig down into it, compensation matters, and for some people, it is the only thing. Right? Just pay me. For a lot of people, and what we found here is they want to do purposeful work. They want to do something that's mission oriented. If you look at what Storewise is doing, we are really enabling the independent grocer, right? So if you look at the $1 trillion supermarket industry, you have 75% of it is run by really 5 big box stores, Walmart, Dollar, Kroger, Amazon, and really Albertsons. And then you have the 25% of the market, which is the independent grocers, about 20,000 stores. And I don't think anybody really wants to live in a world where your only shopping experience for food could be a supercenter or a dollar store or a Kroger. The hometown neighborhood independent supermarket matters, the fabric of this country. And I think the people that we've been recruiting, from a senior engineer all the way down to our head of customer success, sees that. And our culture, we have 3 core values: love the independence, embrace the struggle, and win together. And I think it's not just some blanket mission statement or something that we didn't put a lot of thought into. And when people really see come into our office, we're all in office. None of us are remote, which I also find that some people are hungry to be back in the office, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
They love the environment, and they're some of them have even taken pay cuts to come over here, but they see the long-term opportunity, so they've decided to really stick.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with you 100% on that, because I'm in a company that when lockdowns happened, in March, we were only out of the office. Let's see, it happened the end of March. We were out April, May, and we came back June 1st, 100% in the office. And at the time I was like, oh, this kind of sucks, because my wife's working from home and everybody else is working from home. And, but when you're working from home, you miss out on a lot of the connections, the serendipitous,
Yes, you do.
Bumping into somebody in the hallway. And my wife, she worked from home for about 2 years and recently went back to a position, and she works in tech as well, went to a position where it's in the office. And after like 2 weeks, she's like, I thought coming into the office was going to be kind of a negative, but it's been, so refreshing. And I don't think I would want to go back to a new company working remotely. Like I could see myself maybe transitioning to a hybrid model or something, but I could not see myself being fully remote again. This is just so much more.
Yeah. I mean, we all spend, 8-10 hours a day, on our work. I mean, mm-hmm. it should be with, working with people that you like and care about. And so, and I would say that whether it's remote or in office, but I'm finding that the in office, the desire to be in office is pretty strong. Mm-hmm. We actually asked that question in the interview process. Would you prefer to be remote or in office? And majority will say in office. A strong percentage will say hybrid, and almost no one says remote.
Wow. Yeah, I know for me,
yeah.
like I love to be in the office most of the time, but having that flexibility of being, saying like, oh, I've got a landscaper coming over today, I'm going to work from home today, once or twice, every couple of weeks. I think that's a benefit as well.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. But but it's a rarity, right? But to do it, every day during the week. I mean, look, we have senior engineers, and we hired several, juniors and mids, and the ability to, just turn your chair around to kind of say, hey, to kind of look at code together or solve a problem together, especially, somebody, such as my senior engineers who are steeped in with that grocery domain knowledge specific to our vertical. I think is important, and it's just hard to get it done over Slack or or a Teams call.
Yeah, agreed 100%. I think when you're on a Teams call or Slack or
our employee base has grown
or anything like that.
Say that again.
I was gonna say, when you're on a Teams call or Slack or something like that, you always have that awkward pause or silence, and sometimes you can't read body language. You don't know exactly what's going on. You don't know if the person's even paying attention, and it's just like the engagement goes way down. So tell me a little bit about.
I know. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about what Storewise does and how, and how the software that you guys use, how it helps these smaller grocery chains.
Yeah, we build automation, self-funding automation software for independent grocers. So these are, I mean, they're not, some of them are billion-dollar operations. I mean, when I say independents, that could be as, a 30-store group all the way up to a 147-store group. They're not the chains like Walmart and Dollar. We don't serve them. And our software integrates, all cloud-based, integrates directly with the point of sale. We capture every single SKU that gets scanned. And what we do from there is that we actually enable the grocer to enhance the price image of their store by helping them understand their data and understand where they need to apply discounts. We basically give them exception reporting when there's anomalies to where there might be theft or non-malicious shrink. Like, for example, one grocer, we basically caught an employee who was taking glass bottles through their self-checkout, and their point of sale system allowed the employee to punch in essentially their own return. So this employee generated $19,000 in her pocket based on returning glass milk bottles and they had video cameras and everything.
Wow.
So when I say self-funding, it's truly self-funding.
Well, that is crazy.
Yeah.
So when you're explaining this and going to the stores, are you replacing something that they already have typically, or is this something new that goes in there? Because I don't know a whole lot.
It's an enhancement. Yeah, it's usually an enhancement. So you have, I mean, the point of sale systems are getting very advanced, but they're not. We're finding that there's gaps that are not getting, that our cloud-based software is filling. We basically, a lot of the work that a grocer does, they run things off, spreadsheets or, off-the-shelf software. And with the opportunity, we see an opportunity where we can give, these independent grocers a comprehensive software platform that even integrates some of these other siloed software to help them operate their store better. That's more simply or simpler. It allows them to get insights that they're not going to get from their point of sale system. And we're finding that the 600 independents that run our software today, all of them, without exception, is driving an increase in their margins, because they're moving away from spreadsheets, which make mistakes, right? You heard the old adage that machines don't miss. Well, our software doesn't miss. So if I'm able to, for example, to go ahead, I can identify, because I'm catching every single SKU, I can basically identify the top 100 products that are moving in a store. And I can tell them when they have to buy them from a supplier, and I can tell them when those are coming off the current pricing discount, and say, look, you already moved, 4 cases of mac and cheese. You should buy another 4 cases while it's still on discount, because we have all the data on when those discounting ends. So they're now able to go ahead and buy more smartly. And it's just harder to do that, much harder to do that over, using a spreadsheet.
Yeah. So I guess a lot of your data, you're pulling data from multiple sources, not just the store, but also from outside vendors
Yeah,
and things like
we're
that, and
integrated.
marrying that together.
Yep. Exactly correct. Yeah, that's the magic, right?
Yeah.
That's the algorithms all in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I can see how, like, I can even do, like, a store that's in Minneapolis versus a store that's in Greenville, South Carolina. There might be some similarities between those stores and some best practices that we can even share. That's where the data. That's where the value of our data starts coming into play, which we're just now starting to build up, and that's really the next evolution of Storewise, really to move more towards being a data centric company.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's where you're really going to be able to, when you can combine what you're getting at all the stores and from the vendors and suppliers all in the cloud, and run some really
Yeah.
interesting algorithms on those things to figure out really cool data analytics and stuff off that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting because my senior engineers have been with us for almost 5 years now. My juniors have been with us for 3. I don't have much attrition in the engineering department, and when I have these conversations with them, they're like, we get to solve really big problems. And we look at grocery data. It's really prized data, because you think about the frequency of the shop or the transaction, right? Everybody needs a shop for food, and it happens weekly, and roughly, and the products that are being bought is somewhat similar, right? And so there's a lot of opportunity to really extract the value out of the data that we're capturing, and really help the independent really exceed their own expectations for performance.
Awesome. Let's shift gears just a little bit and tell me a little bit about the book that you wrote, 8 Steps to Overcoming Everyday Adversity. What prompted you to do something like that?
Well, that's a great question. So I have 2 young kids, and I lost my father very, very young, which I won't spoil the crux of the book, but I learned a lot of lessons from after he passed, which I still apply today. And I kind of want to have my kids to have an emergency break glass tool if they ever hit a wall. And the book is filled with those 8 steps are really advice for, really, I meant it for them. I wanted to leave like something, for them that they can refer to when I'm no longer around. And, I'm finding that, my employees are reading it. Obviously good friends are reading it. I've had the former vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Bill Clinton. He endorsed the book. I met him by chance at a conference in Barcelona one year, and we stayed in touch. And he said, "Hey, I've read your book. I love, and I'd love to, write a recommendation." I said, "Would you be willing to endorse it on the front cover?" And he basically said, simply, "It's a book for our times, and let's run the front cover of the book." So easy read, very straightforward, and it just won one runner up in the self-help, self-improvement category for the Maxy Awards, which is kind of like it's a known book award company that has a really good charitable cause.
That's awesome. And one of the things about overcoming, I guess, everyday adversity is one of the things that's something you have to do in a leadership position. When you're leading people, you're going to have lots of pushback, lots of headwind coming into you. What are some things that you advise new leaders that are coming into a role? Maybe you've been, let's say an engineer, and you're getting promoted now, and you're going to manage the engineers. What kind of advice would you give to someone in that role?
Number one, put your people first. And get to and know them, and it's okay to get to know a little bit, personally, right? What are their likes and dislikes? Their family, right? How they grew up in their career. What where do they see their career, going? That's A. B. I think that you got to let, especially in early stage, there's always going to be fires. I mean, one of our core values is sprint to the explosion, or aspirational values, is sprint to the explosion. Some certain fires you got to let, you can't put them all out, right? You can't do everything. So focus on what's important right now, and that includes being very attentive to your people. It's your people that run the business. I mean, we build software and, we serve the grocery industry, but we're in the people business. And I think that's very important for every leader to understand.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think one of the things that we lose concepts of when we get into a company that's dealing business to business is we think of it as business to business, but in reality, it's person to person within that business.
You're exactly correct, John. You're exactly correct. I got to see Ken Blanchard. He's written like 60 books. He's like a business book. He's a business author, book author guru. And one of the things, one of the statements he made is like, which is the most important word in the following phrase: relationships and revenue. And, he went around the room and, some people just caught on really quickly and said it's the and. He's right. It's you got to focus. You got to focus on both. And I think that we've done a good job here at Storewise, really focusing it on the relationships with our own people and that of our partners and customers.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you've got to balance the two, and that's really a challenging thing when you're looking at
It is.
Yeah, especially when people on your team that say, "Oh, I want this, I want that, I want this," and like, well, how does that? What's the ROI on that?
Exactly.
Especially us in
exactly.
tech. We want the newest and greatest, the coolest tech. We want to write stuff in the next language out there. Sometimes we're like that guy gets distracted with squirrel. What's over here?
Yeah. Well, I believe what we're doing is leading edge, but I wouldn't say. And you got to have some bleeding edge ideas, but again, we got to be responsible to each other and our investors, and that requires that the problems that we solve need to show a return. So I do core values training here for all new employees. I handle that myself, and the phrase relationships and revenue is squarely within it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. I think one of the things that, I always try to do whenever I'm starting a project or something new or trying to position our team to make a shift in any way, is to get that small win so that you can have a return and show off that return and use that to build momentum for the next thing. Yeah. So like, it's the same thing when you're
the small wins early.
Yeah, when you're building a product, you want to have that revenue, that revenue generation, so you can reinvest that and also use that as a tool to market and sell more.
Yeah, that's correct. One of the things I have all the new employees do, I have them after 30, I say within 30 days, give me a list of Eyes, EYES. And all that list is like, what are the things that you're observing? Whether it's, good, not so good, indifferent, and just bring those to me because, the leadership team's been in this now for almost over 2 years. And we might be too close to things, and there's things that we could be missing that somebody with fresh eyes would see. So it's been a really, really valuable exercise to do that with all the new employees because it's opened up some opportunities for improvement.
Yeah, I'm sure you get some, probably more positive feedback than negative. But what's one of the most interesting things that you've heard from feedback like that?
I think the most interesting thing is we practice healthy conflict. Okay. And we're very transparent. Like, I don't like closing door. I don't like having closed door meetings. There's reasons to do it. I'm not saying every meeting doors are open, but one of the new employees says, Chris, I've never heard the term healthy conflict. I read the book, The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. I understand. But do you think, I think it'd be good, and I think I'm not the only employee, would you be willing to do like an example? And so during one of our meetings, I took one of my leaders and we took an actual example where we had a good, productive argument. And we demonstrated that in front of the employees, and the feedback was really positive.
Yeah, there's a book called Herding Tigers by Todd Henry. And in that book, he gives an example of like he went to do consulting for a group, and they said, "Oh, our team, we never have conflict. We always get along. We're always, perfectly happy." He's like, "Well, then you have a really bad team. You have some problems on your
Yep.
team if that's the case."
Yeah,
Because you
big
have
time.
people that
You're
are
exactly right.
afraid to speak their mind. You have people that aren't passionate about the work that they're doing. You have lots of problems if that's the case.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, sign of a good marriage is that you have some healthy arguments, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's
so not everything is just always copacetic.
Yeah, when you go back to what you were talking about with transparency, I think being transparent will cause some conflicts every now and then. I think it's really an important thing, and one of the things that I like most about being being in a place where the company is very transparent is that there's less rumors because you can trust a little bit more, and trust is important for leadership. But also, you're going to have people that aren't going to hide their negative outputs. If they have a negative feeling about something, they're going to say it because they want to be transparent, open, and honest, and they trust you to not like fire them or yell at them or whatever right after they hear that negativity about the idea. But they're going to take that in consideration and potentially adjust along the way.
Yep, you're exactly correct. So I think you can have, if you're going to have healthy conflict, you have to have transparency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So what are some other things that you guys do at Storewise that has helped you guys grow as much as you have, and maybe become, one, I think when I was looking at your stats, most of your 100% of your employees approve the CEO. What causes that? What causes your high, customer retention rate? What causes the employees to be happy and to recommend the company and things like that?
Well, it starts with the team. So Taco Tuesdays.
That always
I
helps.
mean, there's actually, in terms of like staying true to our core values, there's a phenomenal Mexican restaurant. He's a sole proprietor, and he doesn't have the traffic he had, especially during COVID. So one of the things I did, I started this in late 2020 or early 21. We started Taco Tuesdays, where I'd bring the company there once a month, and we would have a really good meal, and the employees love it. We cover 75% of healthcare costs, and I know the average in Kansas City is a little bit over 50%. We have mental health benefits, because early stage companies are hard, and I think COVID is creating more stress for people. So that's a benefit here. If you perform here, you have a stake in our outcome. So a lot of employees have incentive stock options here, which I think is a motivator. And on top of that, I think I've recruited really effective leaders, and a lot of the employees. That's a big deal, because I think we've all worked for poor leaders, and it really makes a difference. You can have no matter how good the company is, if they have to turn a blind eye, if the CEO turns a blind eye to their leadership team, then, or to a single leader, you can see that kind of trickle down into the department. And I think we've done a really good job in recruiting leaders. We get along. We do offsites. I think we're building friendships with one another, and I think that having a leadership team that's functional, that gets along, is also a key factor in how the company operates. And lastly, the culture. I mean, our core, we live and die by our core values. I think people think that's not just words on a website, that we actually practice it and believe in it.
Yeah, I think what you just said there about leadership team getting along. I've been in companies where the leadership team like rarely spoke, and they may think that the lay people down below, or us little engineers that are just typing code, don't realize that, don't pay attention to that, but we notice, and it's well aware. When you have leadership team that do get along, they do talk to each other, they do share things. It's a much more creative environment, opening environment. I mean, it helps you just be a little bit riskier on certain things that you want to test out and try and see if this is going to work. It gives you a more satisfied workplace.
You're exactly right. It's an example, right? So if we're all getting along, there's no reason why, the team members shouldn't get along, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So
absolutely.
there's no, I can't, I think it's probably one of the first places I've been where there's not any animosity or, talk behind one's back with any of the, any of the employees. If I'm going to talk about somebody, I always preface it and saying, look, I'm going to say this as if the person is sitting right here. That's the amount of transparency you have to have, and that's been practiced throughout the rest of the organization.
Yep, absolutely. One of your core values is embrace the struggle. And I love that because it reminds me of this video that I saw probably a couple of years ago by Jocko Willink, where every time someone said something was hard or was, had this problem, he'd say good and talk about why it was good that they were going through that struggle. And what does embrace the struggle mean to you?
It means a lot. If there's an adage, the term "life is good" it only tells half the story, right? It's just this moniker on T-shirts, and it's incomplete. How that sentence should read is that life is good and it's hard, because that shapes one's mindset. That things are not good all the time and things aren't hard all the time. So, when you look at the plight of the independent grocer, a lot of our customers started out 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago with produce stands, right? And now they built these several hundred million, billion-dollar businesses, but it's not easy. And it's a 7-day a week. And, some of our owners, sometimes when their meat managers come in, they're in the back cutting meat. And these are not small operators. So I think in adopting, embrace the struggle, we recognize how hard it is for our customers. Or doing early stage companies is never easy. It's a struggle. So having that mindset that things are not going to be easy, but you come out ahead, by going through it I think is a great perspective to have. So it's front and center, as our second core value.
Awesome. Well, Chris, this has been a really good conversation. How can people connect with you online?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
About the things that you guys are doing at Storewise.
Yeah, so Storewise.io, that's our website. You can reach out to me, Chris at Storewise.io. Also, my website, ChristopherGreco.org, if you want to find out more, about what makes me kind of tick. You can go there, and I'm happy. We're recruiting, so if you have I know you have a good tech community, John. So I'd encourage them to really reach out. And look at our open roles, and would love to talk to anybody that might think they have an interest in writing code to enhance the capability of our independent grocers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll link up Storewise in the show notes at geekleader.com, as well as a link to your book and things like that, so people can get all that information, connect with you there.
Yep, that'd be great, Sean. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks so much. If you enjoyed that episode, please leave a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. I'd greatly appreciate that. And also, don't forget to check out merch. We have some T-shirts that I've designed that are on at geekleader.com. You can click on the merchandise section there and check that out. And also, don't forget about the books from our guests. So if you like this guest and other guests that have written books, please go ahead and check that out at geekleader.com. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure they would too.